Hello, everyone. Let's talk about how to learn a language faster. I haven't made a video on YouTube in quite some time, so hello, long time no see. Over the past year and a bit, I, at the Calgary Language Nerds, have been working on a project called Fast Track to Fluency. Fast Track to Fluency has a very singular goal. The goal is to cut the time to fluency in half. Now, initially, I was focused just on pronunciation, just on conversation. I was like, hey, let's help people become conversational as fast as possible. Imagine that. Imagine being able to become conversational literally in a number of months, as opposed to a number of years. And this, I think, is very, very doable. It's been proven time and time again by many people. But what I'm actually working on is to help people get to a true, well-rounded level of fluency and an advanced level of fluency at that in a significantly faster period of time. So I would like to have a program, a course, or a series of courses rather, that lead to an advanced level of fluency in terms of conversation, in terms of listening comprehension, in terms of reading, and in terms of writing. So all four skills, and truly an advanced level in half the time it would typically take. You see, right now, the vast majority of language learners, they learn independently. They use apps, they use YouTube channels. Maybe they take classes, private group classes. Maybe they do language exchanges, but ultimately, their whole, let's actually switch this. My hand's getting tired of holding this phone. Sorry, guys. I know it's kind of weird, but here we go. Most people are independent learners. And there isn't, to my knowledge, there are very few, if any, very structured, guided courses that you can just follow, just literally go take the classes, do the homework, that reliably lead to an advanced level in a reasonably short period of time. That just doesn't exist, to my knowledge. And that's what I'm trying to build here at my business, the Calgary Language Nerds. Here's some of the things that I've learned recently that could be helpful for the language learners watching this. First of all, for listening comprehension, my early research has shown me that if you use a bilingual, in fact, maybe I can even show you, maybe not, don't try to flip this around, but if you use a bilingual transcript, that helps a lot with, I would say it helps a lot with improving your listening comprehension faster. Bilingual transcripts. So imagine having a video that has a transcript written in Spanish video, Spanish transcript. Well, then imagine having an English transcript alongside that. That immediately helps a lot. Common sense. This is not revolutionary stuff, but what I found is what's even better, in fact, and perhaps is more quote unquote revolutionary, more innovative, let's say, is if you take that bilingual transcript, Spanish on one side, English on the other, for example. You take that bilingual transcript and you put it in a table format. Spanish on the left side, English on the right, for example. Maybe one short phrase per line in the table. And then you watch whatever videos with that type of a transcript. Wow, that seems to work incredibly well and seems to really accelerate learning and progress, let's say, learning and progress for listening comprehension. I've been testing it on myself for Ukrainian. I've done about, I want to say 6 or 7 tests with other people. And so far, results are incredible, unbelievably positive. I've also learned as well, perhaps I'll even make more than just one video. Maybe I should split this up, but we'll see. We'll do like one big video, then maybe I'll split it up into shorter videos after. I've also learned, particularly for conversation, although for other elements too, if you change the metric of success, it changes behavior. So most people use the CEFR. I'm getting really technical here, but this is a very standardized scale that has 6 levels: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. It goes from low beginner to high advanced. And people judge their progress based on the CEFR, okay? Now, in the CEFR, what you find is, I find that it's not ideally suited to the average language learner. It's actually more ideally suited to people who are learning a language for a more official purpose. Immigration would be a classic example. You're learning a language for, let's say, immigration purposes, and the government has to measure your level in a highly standardized way that fits all the government requirements, immigration requirements, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for the average Joe, that's not how we should be tracking our level. I've been really thinking a lot about this. I just don't think so. And I think it leads to bad behavior. I just recorded a podcast with someone who was saying that, well, if you follow that 6-level scale for fluency, you might be stuck at level 1 because you can't count to 100. But counting to 100 is not the most important thing by far to actually be, useful in the language, conversational in the language. Like, by far, counting to 100 it's not a high priority, nor should it be, really, for the average person that's learning a language as a hobby, for example, or for travel purposes. Like, no. So the CEFR, the A1, A2, B1, B, the 6-level scale that most people end up using, whether knowingly or unknowingly, frankly, it's restrictive, and it leads to study behaviors that actually hinder progress. So that's another thing that I've been learning as well. In my business, what I've been doing for beginners, at least, well, let's say for the conversation side is a better way to put it. We look at one of the primary measurements of fluency that I've been looking at is how many minutes can you hold a conversation? How many minutes can you hold a conversation relatively fluently? 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes. We also limit the number of the minutes of conversation only to the most common topics that people actually talk about. So we don't have conversations about things that are not common, at least, especially for beginners. Intermediate, we can start to get more flexible, but beginners, absolutely not. And in typical language classes, you do learn about topics that are low frequency. That's not good, right? And this is the same with, self-study resources, podcasts and books. There are so many low frequency topics you don't need all the time. That's bad. At least for the average Joe, it's not ideal. So that's something else in my business that I've been changing. My arm's getting a bit tired from holding this phone, but anyway, I'll say one last thing. Anytime someone is working on an innovative project, like, at least this is my experience, when someone's doing an innovative project, my guess as of right now, I could be wrong, but my initial thinking is that there are two measurements. There are two measurements you can look at that indicate if you're on the right track. So measurement number 1 is if the innovations that you're testing are working. So the people that try the innovations, is it effective for them? In my business, so far, the innovations are effective for the people that are going through. For the most part, seems to be heading in the right direction. The other one is, do you get pushback from people? Do you get pushback? Are there people who disagree and get skeptical about what you're working on? And in my case, I've got both boxes checked. Like, honestly, they're both boxes checked. People are often skeptical when I share the types of things that I'm working on because they do go against traditional knowledge of language learning. But for the most part, as I'm doing these tests, a lot of the things I test don't work, but a lot of the things that we're testing now are working and are becoming more standard practice on my business. So, hello, that's not the right one. Wrong word. Thank you for watching. Long time since I made a video. Thought I'd come on, make a little life update. That's probably a good enough summary of what I've been working on for the past while. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll chat soon. Bye-bye.